Hello, friends. I'm Brian, and I'm here with Alli for the second time ever. Been, what, 2 years probably since the last time we
Yeah,
collabed?
probably. It's been a while.
Yep. She's with the Family Meeple, more on Instagram than YouTube. But I stole this idea from her and then decided maybe share a collab with her. And how long have you been doing these 10 by 5s?
Well, I think this is probably the third year that I've been doing 10 by 5s, and I'm not doing one currently after this. I'm focusing the rest of this year on trying to play through all of my solo games at least once each, which is going to be a big challenge, and I'm definitely behind on that. But these have been a really fun way just to get a solo game off the table or onto the table and make sure that we're getting like a couple plays in sort of close together and really get a feel for the games as a solo experience. So it's been really fun. Some of these games I'd done in previous 10 by 5 challenges, but it's nice to get them back to the table again after a little while. And then some of them adding in some different solo modes and expansions as well.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about it too. That's why I picked up and stole it. It's like, gets games to the table.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I guess we'll get into a little bit of the actual countdown here. And I think the plan is we're going to basically start with number 10, work our way down, but just discuss the games as we get to them the second time, basically, when they show up on the higher list. So we're not repeating ourselves over and over since we did play the same 10 games.
Yep. There's going to be some crossovers. We'll
Uh,
see how many are exact crossovers, right?
yeah, there might be 10 crossovers total, but yeah, the exact crossovers, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
You want to kick it off with your number 10?
Yeah, so my number 10 is going to be Small World.
I've got that higher on my list. So
All
we'll
right.
skip it for
What's
now
your
and talk
number
about it
10?
later. My number 10 is Bad Company, which obviously is going to be higher on your list.
Yep, it's
Um,
higher for me.
all right. Number 9.
Number 9 for me is going to be Tiny Epic Galaxies.
All right, we got a crossover here. That is also my number 9.
Okay,
Uh,
here
so
we
we
go.
can
Do you
get
want
in.
to start us off?
Sure. We'll explain the game a little bit. I guess it's kind of a tiny epic roll in move game in a way. You're rolling dice to take actions to kind of try to conquer planets and get enough points to win the game. And for me, the thing I don't like about, or what makes it number 9, I guess I do like playing the game enough, is just the randomness. It kind of comes down to trying to roll the best you can before your opponent rolls better. And I'm not the biggest fan of random games.
Yeah, I think that's the same reason why it came down to number 9 for me as well. I don't mind the randomness when I play this game as a multiplayer because sort of everyone has the same level of randomness and the same level of luck. But with the AI opponents in Tiny Epic Galaxies, it felt like it was really swingy. So I
Mm-hmm.
either won really easily and basically like blew them out of the water, or I just couldn't catch up, couldn't keep up. So some of the solo opponents will, for example, when you roll a specific die on their turn, they'll take like all of your culture. And so then you're not able to follow anything. And it
Right.
felt uh, sort of like you were being handicapped in that way. Again, it's a fun game. It's one that I do pull out solo and play. I need to try it with the expansion, which I didn't include for this challenge, but I do have the what is it, Into the Black, I think is what it's called. So the expansion for that one that adds variable ships that actually have different powers with
Hmm.
captains and some extra stuff in there. But I haven't tried that one solo yet.
Yeah, I don't have the expansions, so I can't talk on it, nor can I talk on playing with other people. I've only ever done this one solo, so
Okay.
and it's like you said, it just sometimes felt very swingy and unforgiving at times, and other times just super easy. So it's because everything comes down to dice rolls. There's not much strategy in the opponent.
Exactly. Yep.
Do we want to move on to number 8?
Yeah, I think we can move on to number 8. So my number 8 is going to be Circle the Wagons.
I've got that a little higher on the list. My number 8 is actually going to be Weather Machine.
Okay, that one
So,
is higher on the list for me.
right, we'll talk about both those maybe right now, maybe later. Number 7.
All right, number 7 for me is Bad Company.
which was my number 10. So we can talk about that one now. You want to lead this one off?
Yeah. So Bad Company is a basically a dice rolling game, and it's similar if you've played Space Base. I think is the one that most
Mm-hmm.
people are familiar with. But essentially, you're building out a gang of people in front of you from basically 2 through 12. And as the game progresses, you can improve on those people and add cards to the top so that when you roll that number, you get to take more actions. And then you also have a police car that's basically chasing you around this board. So one of the actions you could take is to do your getaway drive actions and move across this track, trying to get to the safe zone at the end. And in the solo game, if the police car ever basically catches up with you, it's an immediate loss condition. So there's a little bit of luck there in the fact that, again, you're rolling dice to determine which characters you can activate, and there's rolling dice in order to determine how far that cop car moves. One of the things I sort of did like about the solo is that the cop car is always going to move, so there's always that pressure. And if you roll a 0, it still is going to get that like +1, if I remember correctly. And
Right.
then you can manipulate those dice by spending some of your resources, but a lot of times I just like didn't have the resources to spend. So I think this is another one where it can be kind of swingy, but I enjoyed the challenge in this one of being able to collect the right tokens to fill out the cards and being able to collect those like goal cards and complete those. So this is one that I have not played multiplayer, but I would like to play multiplayer because it's pretty simple rule set. I enjoyed the artwork, I liked the theme, and it's one that I'd like to get to the table multiplayer. I think it would be better multiplayer.
I can 100% say it is better multiplayer. Um, this one coming in my number 10 for a lot of the same reason I mentioned Tiny Epic Galaxies and Alli was hinting at. You roll dice and you kind of try your luck. I had a lot of bad luck with the cop, which can be a little bit mitigated, but that's at the loss of what you're actually trying to do, which is move and solve the case. How would you say it? Like you're covering the cards, you're getting the loot. I guess is
Yeah, you're
thematically what it's
collecting the
doing.
loot. Yeah.
But the thing I like about and Space Base is one I didn't like at first either, but it has grown on me. And in Space Base, you're always building your engine, or you're choosing not to on your own. And in this game, you've only got so many chances to build your engine bigger, and that is spending
Yeah.
your money and moving up the track. But there's only so many places up the track you can move, so it's just not as exciting to build the engine, and it comes down to that randomness of getting the resources and the things you need. So
Yeah, it doesn't
I
feel
don't
like your
like
engine gets quite as big.
right. So solo, I don't like this one like at all, really. Um, but I do like it multiplayer. I have played it multiplayer a few times, and it goes back to what you were saying about Tiny Epic Galaxies, where everybody's kind of dealing with the randomness of it. So everybody's kind of in the same boat, and then it does come down to kind of how you're using your engine, because when it's your turn, you get to take both die results basically, and when it's not your turn, you get to choose one of the two that the leader chose as your resource management. So
Yeah. Have you
fun.
played this with your family yet, Brian?
Not with my family, just with some friends. Right.
Yeah, we have I have 2 girls and they're 11 and almost 10, and they have friends coming over, and one of their friends was like, "Ooh, I want to play Bad Company." So it drew his attention on the shelf. So I was just curious. It's pretty simple, and I feel like, upper elementary, middle school kids could probably handle it.
Yeah, it should be pretty manageable with your kid. My number 7. That's what we're on, right? Yep.
Yep.
Circle the Wagons, which was your what, number 8?
Okay, that was my number 8. Yeah. So pretty close on that one.
Right. Yeah. Circle the Wagons is generally a two-player game, where you're laying out the 18 cards, except for the 2 or 3 that are your goals for the round. Only with the solo mode, you're kind of splitting the deck in half and going through 2 different phases. But you're just taking cards out of the circle to add to your town, and giving your opponent everything you leave behind. That's pretty true in the solo game as well. And then on their turn, they've got some stipulations for which cards they take, and you're just trying to outscore them. And I like Circle the Wagons. I played it 2-player and solo now, and I enjoy it enough for what it is. Quick, easy, fun. Same thing I say about button shy games all the time.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I haven't played it at two players, but it feels like one that would be great for two players if it's like travel game, you just sort of have it in your bag with you and it's you have 15 minutes to kill. Let's pull this out and play it really quickly. It doesn't take up a ton of table space even though it is tile placement and you're overlapping those cards. I really did like that aspect of it. I like puzzly games, so being able to try to decide which of these cards is going to be best to help what I'm building out. But also in the solo mode, you have to really think through what the AI player is going to take out because their rules are very specific. And you can kind of math it out and figure out, okay, well, they're going to take this next. If I take this one, then that forces them to take this other card. And do I want them to take that? Does it give me anything extra? Does it help them more than it, you know, hurts them. So there's some good stuff in there, but it's not one that I felt really drawn to pull out. It was one that was just kind of, that was fun. That was nice. It's definitely not my favorite button shy game and definitely not my favorite solo button shy either. There's some other ones that I like better, but it's a nice little game and that wallet size is always beneficial. There's no reason to get rid of games that are nice and easy breezy like that and take up basically no space in your collection at all. So it was a fun one.
Right, I agree. I always like having these games just on hand. If nothing else, take them on travel. I'm going on a work trip next week, so maybe I take a
Yeah.
few along with me and try to kill some time with them if I've got time to kill. Yeah, it's a fun one. It's also not my favorite button shy, but it gets the job done, solo and 2-player. It kind of plays the same way. I'm way worse at you probably for like I only take what's good for me. I don't really think about the AI, and then I lose by a lot because I didn't really consider what they might be doing a whole lot. Just trying to do what works for me the best. And so in a 2-player game, that plays out probably a little bit better.
Yeah. And some of those, like, if you don't pay attention to that, they're going to take something that's going to score them major points. I don't generally spend a lot of attention on what colors of areas they're collecting, but they score all of their areas as if they were connected. So they can rack
Right.
up a lot of points really quickly with that outside of their specific scoring conditions for that game. And I do like the flexibility in the game that there's multiple different like scenario cards that you can pull for that lone, what is it called, the lone rancher or something, I think
Yeah,
is
the
what it
lone
is.
cowboy.
Yeah, that there we go, lone cowboy. And so you pull a card for the lone cowboy and then it tells you specifically which objective cards you're going to play with for that game. And I liked the way that they balanced how you're taking cards based on the scoring objectives and then how that lone cowboy is going to play for that round. And then it gives you a lot of flexibility to play. I didn't even play through all of them because there's more than five scenarios for them.
Right. Yeah, I do like that too. It's more balanced than a couple of the other ones we talked about that were higher on the list. So
Yeah, exactly.
some effort went into it, not just stay
Yeah,
ahead of the police guy.
yeah. I think there was a lot of um, conscious design decisions that went into solo versus multiplayer, and sometimes that's not always the case. It's like here's a good
Mhm.
multiplayer game, and then mm, here you can play this by yourself if you want, and here's some rules.
Right. All right. Number 6.
Yeah, number six for me is Weather Machine, a
All
little bit
right. That
lower
was
on your list. So we'll go
my
ahead.
number 8.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and talk through Weather Machine. Weather Machine is one that I threw on the list kind of at the last minute as we were going through what games do we both have in our collection that plays solo and we wanted to put onto this. I had played Weather Machine at the Dice Tower Retreat last year at two players and had really enjoyed it at two players and wanted to pick it up with some Christmas money. So I threw it on the list since you already had it. Hadn't played it solo before getting it, so this was my first solo experience with Weather Machine. And in Weather Machine, it's a very heavy, complex Vital Lacerda game. It's probably on the heavier end, even of his designs, at least of the ones that I've played. There's a lot of moving parts. You are basically going around trying to take actions at the different locations. So you're helping the government fund their own research in developing a correction to the weather machine that's wreaking havoc. You're going in and running experiments on Latif's weather machine that he's already built, and then you're going in and trying to fix or correct the extreme weather conditions that are being caused by running the weather machine. And there's a lot of different uh, just planning involved in it. The solo mode was one that I think was well designed. I believe it's David Turchi that designed the solo mode
I
on this
think
one.
so.
So as soon as you throw his name in there, I knew going in that it was going to be a more complex solo mode than some of these other games that we threw in. But that was kind of my main hurdle of why it came in lower on the list in like this bottom half, is that the level of mental effort involved in trying to run my own game in it, plus paying attention to what the solo AI is doing, because you can't ignore it. You can't forget about what they're doing and score well. I just never scored well in this game. My
Right.
last of the plays went the best of all of them, but there were several times where I hit the like instant lose conditions, which doesn't feel great when
Mm-hmm.
you put that much effort into a game of this complexity. Um, so it's one that maybe will end up on a coal pile in the future just because of the weight. I don't have a lot of people to play that with me multiplayer, which I enjoyed better. But for right now, I'm going to keep it. I'll probably try it a few more times and see how it goes. I do like the game, but the solo mode was, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Right. Yep. And then that's why it's number 8 for me, even though I might enjoy the game more than a couple of the other ones that end up lower. It just was so much work to play the game solo, and it's unforgiving. Like you said, there's auto lose conditions. There's bots that are going around and doing various things, and the game's already super heavy. So like I'm trying to figure out what I need to do to play the game real, and then I also got to figure out what to do to run the AI opponent, and it just became a lot of work more than fun, and that's why it fell down the list. I think if I played this multiplayer, I'd probably enjoy it more. But unlike you, I didn't get better as I went along. Actually, my best games were like my first couple, and then my scores got lower, or I hit auto lose conditions, or whatever the case is. Like I didn't get better as I played it throughout the months.
Yeah, those auto lose conditions, they're easier to hit than you would think. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
definitely reach those conditions. And I don't know that I've ever even seen like a path to the auto win condition for that one, just trying to get those goal tiles in place on your board and being able to
Right.
actually achieve, I think, what, 3 or 4 of them you'd have to achieve, and then you have to be ahead of them on the point track. Applaud to anyone who's been able to hit that auto win condition.
Right.
Definitely an achievement.
Yeah, I was just happy when I got to the end of the game and could score.
Yes, same, same. I was like, hey, I made it to final scoring, making progress.
Yeah, but I enjoy the game just a lot. My number yep. My number 6, I believe, was on your list already with Small World.
Yep, yep. The Small World was number 10.
So your least favorite of the 10.
Yeah.
Small World is basically a game where you're area controlling with a bunch of chips of various combos that are what are they, race and abilities that you're gonna mix up and change. And I really like that aspect of it. Just there's so much variety just in the basic box. And then I've got one of the big pack expansions too, so I've got plenty more variability. And the gameplay is really easy. It's simple to teach. Throw cardboard on the board, and if you got more cardboard than the spot you're taking, you take over the place, and then you just count up how many places you have, and you score points. And if you get any bonus points from your abilities, you're gonna score those too. But the solo bot, I guess that's what we want to call it, it's pretty easy to run. You know, they're going to go out and just try to take the areas that are easiest for them to take and do that and score points. And you play the game through 9 rounds and see who scored the best throughout the game. And with Small World, if you've not played, there's a point where like you're going to want to go into decline, which basically is do nothing for a round, so that way you can draft a whole new race combo and get back at it with more chips, because as you get taken over, you're going to lose a lot of your forces along the way. So I just thought like this one was real quick, easy. I really enjoyed it. After the first game, I did increase the difficulty level, just to give myself a little bit more challenge. But it's a game where if you can take advantage of the combos, you can win pretty easy. And if you maybe the combos don't come out as good, you might not win. So it does have that little swinginess, but I don't find it super random. I don't know. Why didn't you like it, Allie, or like it as much as the others?
Yeah, so I've had Small World in our collection basically since we started our hobby game collection. It was one that I had discovered based on Will Wheaton's tabletop way back in the day. It was kind of Carcassonne, and then we added Small World. So I have Small World, I have Small World Underground, and then I have two of the expansion packs for extra content. And I think the reason that the solo mode for me fell down to the bottom is because I like the multiplayer so much more. Like the discrepancy between me wanting to play multiplayer versus solo was probably the largest of all of the games in this
Right.
set. So I wouldn't say that like I dislike Small World more than some of these other ones. Like I probably would rather play Small World than Circle the Wagons, but
Hmm.
that's if I'm playing multiplayer. I just really like the multiplayer version of this game, and the solo didn't quite feel the same way for me as the multiplayer did. So that's why I put it at number 10. But like all of these games are pretty good, and I'd probably play
Yeah,
all of them again. But Small World, I just want to get it to the table with other people.
that's true. And with other people, you're fighting for those good combos and playing against them as well. So definitely not
Yeah,
something
the
you're doing in
AI
the
in it
solo.
No, the AI in it is very, very like rudimentary. And I think it was one that they developed during the COVID pandemic so that people could play Small World while they were home during the quarantine years. And so it was kind of an afterthought. It wasn't really built in.
Right.
There's no, it's not an AI card driven bot. It's just go out and try to take over, like you said, the easiest spaces spread out as much as possible, which is fine. And it's very easy to run. And it made it something that was kind of quick to get to the table. But with the multiplayer game, like you said, there are other players who are actually looking at the combinations that are in that lineup and making a decision about which one is going to be most beneficial. They're a little bit more dynamic about when are they going to go into decline, when are they going to draft these new races. If I spread myself out one more turn, are they going to grab that combo that I'm looking at that's really juicy coming up before I can get to it. So there's just a lot of decision space, and for me, games that are primarily about area control just tend to work better with either multiplayer or with a more robust solo mode.
Right. Right. Yep. I played this one multiplayer too, and it is better. But I did like the solo for getting to the table by myself. Number five.
All right, number 5 for me is going to be Century Spice Road.
All right, that is higher on my list. And my number five is going to be higher on your list because it's Euphoria, Ignorance is Bliss expansion. Euphoria.
It is higher on my list, yes.
All right, so number four,
Number 4 for me is going to be After Us.
and that is higher on my list. My number
Okay,
four, we just mentioned a moment ago, is actually Century Spice Road.
okay,
Um, Century Spice Road is basically a game where you're building up resources through a little bit of engine building card play to collect gold cards, and you're racing just to get in the solo mode at least to get the most points. I guess that's all the modes. I was thinking you had to race to a certain score, but that's not the case. But you're playing against an AI deck of cards. I wasn't using that solo mode at my first game, and I asked Allie, I was like, "Is this the one you're using? Because this doesn't feel as exciting as I had been led to believe." And she pointed me to the actual AI card. I think it was user created game,
yes.
and that feels more like the actual multiplayer game. But it's kind of Splendor esque. I kind of relate it to Splendor, where you're kind of doing things to build up your abilities to do things better as the game moves on, and all it is to race to get these spices or four different colored cubes to collect the gold cards. A lot of fun. I really enjoy Century Spice Road personally. Um, and I like that you pointed me to a good AI for it.
Yeah, the fan made AI that you can get on Board Game Geek is definitely a really fun way to play this one solo. I also really like that it includes modes for all three of the games in the series. So you can play Spice Road, you can play Eastern Wonders, or you can play A New World. And then it also includes instructions to play them in any combination. So the Century games, that trilogy, you can combine them and play them together, throw two in, throw all three in, any combination you can think of. And the solo mode accommodates for all of those different iterations, which is really fun. For this one, I only played just base game Century Spice Road with the solo AI cards. But like you said, it's super easy to run. I liked that it felt very similar to how the multiplayer works. And you could kind of see as they were building up their cubes on their little card of there's cards in there that if they have, six or more, they're going to draft the highest
Right.
valued point card or the lowest one. And so you can kind of see it coming and make some decisions about whether you think you can beat the AI to that top scoring
Exactly.
card or not, which is really similar to how the multiplayer game feels because all of that information is public of how many cubes and what colored cubes they have. And so you can see, oh, I'm not going to make it there before they get there, and you can pivot and change where you're going. It's the same with the solo mode. So
Hmm.
that's why I put it higher up on the list.
Yeah, I agree. Just being able to see, like in the regular game, you can see what everybody's got in front of them, and with the AI opponent, you can see exactly what they've good chance of doing on their turn or next couple turns, and trying to math out whether you can beat them to it or maybe adjust fire. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think this is one of the more realistic feeling, I guess, solo mode of the 10 games to the multiplayer.
Yeah, I think so. It feels very similar to
Mm-hmm.
multiplayer, and it's so quick. It plays really fast, and you can play it several times. I just left it out and played it several times back to back.
Yeah, same for most of these games.
Well, I left Weather Machine out for sure, but that's not because it was quick, because it was
Right,
really
right.
quick.
Yeah. That one sits on your table until you're done with it.
Yeah, set it up, reset, don't put it away till you're done.
Yep. I think we're into the top three now.
Yeah, I think so, because that was your number four.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so my number three is going to be Euphoria, which was lower on your list. Euphoria is a worker placement game from Stonemaier that's been out for a long time now, and I feel like it gets like the least amount of attention of a lot of his games, but it's my favorite from Stonemaier games. Like I said, it's a worker placement game. You're using dice as your workers, and you will roll the dice and do basically a knowledge check because the number of pips equals their awareness of the fact that they are living in this dystopian future where they are being sent out as workers with no choice in the matter. So if you roll too high on your dice, then you actually lose one of them. They run away and they say, I'm out of here. So it's a balance between when do I get more workers? Usually in a worker placement, you want to have as many workers as you possibly can get, but in Euphoria, that's not always the case. The solo mode that I play and that I'm sure is the one you played comes in the expansion,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a card driven AI that's built by the Automa factory, which does most of Stonemeier's solo modes. And it actually simulates two separate players. Euphoria plays best at higher player counts. So the solo game actually plays and feels like a three-player game. And it will be placing dice out based on the cards that you draw into the different locations. It will be moving up the allegiance tracks, and basically it's just a race to see who can get their 10 stars out on the board first. It's a very challenging solo mode, in my opinion. I lose most of the time, but it's like right up at the end, right? Like I'll have one or two stars left, and then they'll put out their last star. So it always felt tight in the same way that it feels multiplayer. It's a race game. There's no points to add up. It's just you get your 10 stars out first and you win. So this is one of my all-time favorite games. I have played it both multiplayer and solo, and I actually use the uh, GitHub solo app for for this one that manages all of the card draws, all of the shuffling, adding in different cards at different points in the game. It tells you based on which allegiance faction each of the AIs is representing, where to put the dice, if you're supposed to put the highest die out or the lowest die out. So I really liked that for management of the solo bots. And yeah, so that's Euphoria. I love it.
Yeah, it was my number 5. So not much behind where you have it.
Yep.
Thing you mentioned about the workers thing, that's actually one of the things I don't like about it. Like, I don't really understand the need for the, oh, you rolled too high, now you lose a worker. Because the workers cost resource. If they were easier to get, then I probably wouldn't mind it. But the fact that you got to save up resources and then spend a worker's placement spot and those resources to get a worker back and then immediately potentially lose it because you rolled too bad, I don't know. I don't really care for that aspect. And that's what kind of makes it lower on my list. Everything else about it is a lot of fun. And like you were saying, probably the tightest like 5 games I had out of all these, as far as came down to like that last turn where either I won right before they were about to, or I lost, right before I was about to potentially win. But
Yeah,
a lot of
using the
fun.
workers is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Very painful because it's hard to get them. And I like the challenge there of okay, I have 3 workers now. When you recall your workers and you spend that turn to recall them, you're not required to recall all of them. So you can
Right.
always recall like a smaller number and hope that that helps you roll lower. And there are some mitigations where you can bump that value down so that the added number that you're having to combine with your dice rolls goes down and you're less likely to lose those workers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's painful and they're hard to get.
Right. And that's my one drawback with the game, but everything else I enjoy about it. I've played this one multiplayer and the solo now. Have you played a multiplayer?
Yeah, I've played it multiplayer. I got to
Yeah.
play it multiplayer at um, Tantrum Con, I think, several years ago. We played, I think, 5. I think it was a
Mm-hmm.
5-player game. It was really fun. Like it definitely is better at those higher player counts. If this is a game that people like, even if you're not a solo player, if you're playing maybe 2 or even 3 players, you can throw those AI bots in there
Mm-hmm.
and just throw them on like kind of that lowest level. There's instructions on how to use them in multiplayer games, and it kind of makes it feel a little bit fuller of a game. And there's more activity going out there. You have more with those like penalizing markets. If the AIs have gone out and built one of those markets and you weren't there, now you've got a
Right.
penalty until you can go resolve it that you don't get kind of in that regular 2-player game.
Some of those penalties are pretty harsh too.
Oh yeah, and they compound, right? Like if you've got several of them,
Mm-hmm.
you feel very sort of like kneecapped. You're like, I can't really do anything now.
Yeah. I think I played this one at 6 once, and you're getting kicked back your workers too, so you're spending less actions recalling your workers with that many
Yeah.
players.
Yep.
Nice little change there too. But,
Yeah, and you have more people that have overlap on their factions as well.
mm-hmm.
So as you're moving up on these, moving down the tunnels or moving up on the allegiance tracks, then you're hitting those milestones faster and you can get your second faction card turned over more
Right.
quickly
Yep.
in the player games as well. But it's still one of my favorites to get to the table.
For sure. It's an enjoyable game. Um, where are we at? Number 3, or was that your number 3? That was your number 3.
That was my number 3.
So my number
What was
3
yours?
is one you mentioned already. After Us, the monkey game.
Yeah, After Us for me came in at number 4, so very close.
Yep. Uh, so After Us is a game I got literally for the theme. I love apes, my favorite animal. Planet of the Apes, enjoyable movie, and that's the quote unquote theme because the theme is just slapped on. Theme could be anything in this game. But basically, it's just an engine builder, deck builder game where you're playing out your 4 cards each round in whatever order you want to best get that engine flowing, collecting the various resources, and then spending them to get points. And it's just a race to get 80 points. This is one of the more unforgiving solo modes. I feel like it almost was tacked on. I was like, oh, I could make a solo mode out of this if we just do this and slap together, because it's even a single like sheet in the rule book. Like it's not even attached to the rule book. Um, but yeah, it's just I really like putting out the engine and kind of trying out. There's basically 3 different strategies you can take. the rage strategy is basically just milling the deck, or you can go straight point strategy, or you can play for like the batteries strategy, which give you like the extra actions that are available, and they rotate through the games too. But the solo mode basically is just a race to get ahead of the bot as fast as you can, because eventually they're just going to score a lot of points, because as they get more of the apes into their deck, they're just going to score like 6 points every time they flip over a card and get a bunch more resources and things like that going. So I found that to be the strategy of the solo game, is to just try to get as many points as quick as possible and then try to race ahead to the win. But even in the multiplayer game, it really is just that race to 80 through, building your deck and engine the best you can.
Yeah. I really like After Us. It's one of my favorite games to play. It's good both multiplayer and solo. Like you said, the solo felt like it was sort of added on. At the end, they said, "Hey, we've got a good game here. What can we do for a solo player?" But one of the nice things is it's super easy to run and
Mm-hmm.
operate. And so they have their deck of cards with those apes, and they still flip them over. The order doesn't matter. You just flip them out. They're going to gain something for each card based on what it is. As they get better and better apes, especially those like level 2 apes, they're really going to start getting points and start racing around that track. And being able to beat them to 80 points is very, very challenging. But it's just a fun game in the way that it plays and the way that your strategy has to kind of shift depending on which of the technology tiles are included for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't even have that like spend batteries to get points tile, and only the AI has access to that. So that's a fun little kind of quirk in the game of how do I use these tiles that I have at my disposal, or is it even worth it? And then because of the way that you set up for the AI player, it does feel different, and your strategies have to change with each play because they're going to be prioritizing different types of apes each game
Mm-hmm.
depending on what order you put their tokens out in. So one game they might be really going heavy on the point ones, and then another game they might be going heavy on the batteries, and you have to adjust. And the thing that I really liked about the way that the solo works is the AI player kind of goes first, and they just collect resources. You just get a blanket set of resources, they
Right.
flip their cards, they add to those resources. And then as you play your turn, you're taking the resources from their set of resources. So you can try to manipulate how you play your cards in
Mm-hmm.
order to make it less possible for them to get those higher level apes. If they've got 6 blue resources, I want to make sure that I take at least one so that they can't get that level 2.
Right. That's a lot of the strategy in the solo game, is managing their pile of resources as best you can.
Yes. Yeah. It's a fun one. Small box, easy footprint to set up, easy to get to the table and play. It's one that I will be keeping for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very enjoyable. I like that game. Speaking of games we like, I pretty much determined we have the same top two. So it's a matter of order, I
We
guess.
might. Yeah. Yeah. We have the same top two. It depends which order you put them in.
So what do you
All
have at
right.
number two?
So number two might surprise you, but I put number two as the Magnificent.
Same for me.
Okay, direct crossover.
Mm-hmm. Which makes number one the direct crossover too.
Yes, it does. Um, you want to take the Magnificent or?
Sure, I'll take the Magnificent. Magnificent is a game I'd never heard of, and someone at Family Meeple named Alli talked about it as one of her favorite all-time games, and I was able to get a real cheap copy. So I was like, well, if I don't like it, I'm out like $5. And it's turned into one of my favorite games too. Does not come with, well, it comes with a solo mode, but it's kind of score 200. Play the game by yourself, score 200, and you win, and you can't score 200. Have you ever
Yeah,
scored
good
200
luck.
in this game? Yeah.
Only with the expansion. I've scored over 200 solo with the expansion.
But the expansion probably says score 250 or something like that.
It does. I think it bumps up the. Well, no, actually, I don't think it bumped up the target goal, which I thought was strange. But with the expansion, you get 4 extra turns, so you can get to that 200 because I can usually get like 170, 180 is pretty good for me in
Right.
solo with just the base game. So I just personally said the target is 180 if I play with just the included solo.
Hmm. So we've each individually worked on our own little AI card decks and kind of shared them with each other to try out.
Yep.
But the game's really simple in its complexity. There's three actions you're going to take. You're going to draft the dice. You're going to put on one of your action cards. Maybe get a bonus. Probably get a bonus if you're doing it right. And then you're taking one of three actions to kind of build up a circus of performers, and then put on performances to score points and earn income because you got to pay up for those dice that you drafted at the end of each round. So it's kind of a good balance of action, resource management, and everything like that. It's just super easy to play, but like for only having 12 actions in the game, because you get four
Yeah.
actions over 3 rounds.
Yeah.
um I played this at 3 once and took like 3 hours, which I think wouldn't be the case with 12 actions, but there's a lot of analysis paralysis in in those actions to try to maximize them.
Yeah, there is. It's very limited. And I think that's one of the things with the solo mode, particularly the one that's included in the game, is that it is an efficiency puzzle. You have got
Mm-hmm.
to make the absolute most out of every single turn, or you're not going to even come close on that one. And sometimes it's just not possible because it is dice drafting and you're rolling those dice. It might just be that you don't have access to the dice that you need and you don't
Right.
have, trainers to manipulate those dice. And so some games you're just not going to score as highly as other games, and how everything goes together as far as like using the cards and the abilities on the card. And so the top half of your card is an ability that you get in game when you take that dice and set it on the card. But then the bottom half is your scoring condition, and you get to pick each round which of those cards you're going to score plus one that you add. So you have five cards in front of you, and you're like, okay, I could score this one right now and it gets me 8 points, but I'm like actively working on this and building it up. So do I wait and don't score that now and score a lower one? And then I'll score that next turn and I can maybe get 16 out of it instead.
Right.
It's just a lot of really good decision space in this game. I know people complain about the dark board and the starkness of the game. I personally love it. I think it looks absolutely beautiful with those really bright colored, fluorescent dice on the board. And this has been a favorite of mine for years since I picked it up. It's an absolutely fantastic game. And like Brian said, we've been working on kind of our own solo modes that we've been tweaking and kind of playing around with. I played uh, twice with my solo mode with just the base game content, played twice with your solo mode with just the base game content. And then my last game, I actually threw all of the expansion stuff back in and played with my solo mode with the expansion content, which is always
Right.
fun.
Yeah,
And
I haven't even
expansion's
seen
hard to
this.
find.
Yeah, I haven't seen it like anywhere.
No, and
So
I don't
I just
even
have.
know if it really like came to the States because I had to reach out to Porta Games and I was like, where can I
Mm,
get the expansion? I need it. And they were like, well, if we send it to you, will you cover it? And I was like, yeah, send it to me. I'll cover it. I'll share it. So I was lucky enough to get a copy from Porta. So shout out, thank you to Porta Games for sending that expansion over. Fantastic game, in my top 10. I think it was like my number two or three when I rated
mhm.
my games in 2023.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games. So I don't remember where exactly it fell, but I'm pretty sure top 2025 at least. Um, a lot of fun and game nobody ever talks about.
No, nobody talks. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but
Yeah,
you don't hear about it very much. It's not one of Aporta's like most popular games, but certainly one that deserves to still be talked about and still get played. So if you see
right,
it for cheap, which you might, grab a copy.
for sure. It worked for me. All right, number one, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So number one is Moonlight, and I think both of us, Brian, specifically played with the Artifacts
Hmm.
expansion, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I had done Boonlike in a previous challenge just with the base game, added the Artifacts expansion. So I played with that for this challenge in Boonlike. This is an Alexander Pfister game. So if you're familiar with his games, it is very similar in the sense that you have this sort of one way track rondelle system where you're going down the river as you take your turns. And then when you get past towards the end, then you go back up to the top and start again. So it plays over what kind of feels like 4 rounds because you have interim scoring that happens as
Hmm.
you move past these lock spaces. But you are going to be selecting an action tile from this board in the middle that is constantly rotating. So as I take an action tile, if I take from the top, I'm going to be able to move further down the river on my turn. And you get to take the action on the left hand side, usually play a card as well from your hand, take your action. Most of the time, you're also going to play a second action from the right hand side. And then you move down on the river, and gain benefits from the river space as well. There's a lot of card play in this game, which I think is one of the main things that I like about it, is that you're drawing all these cards, but you're having to spend them as
Hmm.
resources, and you're having to match the card type that you're playing with the action that you took. So there's a lot of planning that goes into it with that. You're also taking actions to build up Boone Lake and the area on the board with tiles. You're populating the tiles with workers. You're converting those workers into settlements and buildings. You're clearing out your board so that you can get income during the scoring rounds. You've got goals down on the bottom that you're working towards and planning towards and trying to maximize your points that way. The solo AI is kind of like a card based AI. It's a tile. So you flip a tile over and it tells you what action they're going to try to take. They're just moving up a track that's going to score them points. They're still putting things out onto the board, but it's very easy to run, very easy to manage. They have multiple levels of difficulty that you can use with the AI tile. And then when you add in the expansion, you have this separate board on the side that actually has like 2 other tracks that you can go on. And then at some point, you can build a special building and then you move one of your canoes out while you're managing your resources. There's just so much going on in this game. But it all feels connected. It fits together. I didn't feel like I had to go check the rule book constantly. It just was very satisfying. You get done, you've got all these cards laid out in front of you on the table, and this big engine that you've built up with cards that give you benefits throughout the game. You've got end game scoring. It's a fantastic game. One of my absolute favorites. It was not on my top 100 in 2023 when I did my last rating. It is on it now, and it is in the top 5. Spoiler alert, this is one of my all time favorite games. I have not played this one multiplayer yet. Hopefully, I can rectify that soon, but the solo is fantastic. Excellent game.
Yeah, same. I haven't played it multiplayer yet either, but I do really like the fact that the game is a lead follow basically game. You're selecting an action, and then everybody's going to be able to take the secondary action on the tile you pick. And you'd think for solo game, like, okay. But neither of us have played a multiplayer, so we don't even know how that actually works playing with real people. But it works pretty well in this game. It's fun. You're building up the tableau, like Ali said, and playing that engine. The one thing I think, and I recently got the expansion. I think Ali said she would only do this one if with the expansion included, and so I made sure I got a hold of the expansion and did it. But I don't think you need it. It just, to me, I've a lot of times forgot to play on that separate board because it's kind of limited when you got to take certain actions to even like move on that board, and so half the time I
Yeah.
might not even have that ability, and then like 4 turns later I'm like, oh, I think I'm supposed to be 2 further up on that board. I don't know. So it almost seemed like
Yeah.
that board was almost just too much extra. There's enough going on already in the main game that I felt like I didn't even need that board. It's nice there. It gives you some more things to do and more ways to collect things as you're playing, but also more things to remember when there's already, especially as your tableau is building up, like, okay, I'll take this action, which give me this bonus, and then I can do this. And I forgot about that board more than I remembered it, I think, as far as the artifacts board,
Yeah, that's
personally.
definitely true. I don't think it's required. There's some games where, the base game is good, and then you add the expansion, and you're like, now it's excellent. Boon Lake is one that you do not need that expansion. If you really like Boon Lake and you want to add another kind of level of complexity to it and more things to think about and remember, then by all means add it, but you don't need it. You definitely don't need it.
But yeah, I just really enjoyed the AI, like you said, super super simple. Flip over tile, do action, score points probably. And as they do more actions, they're going to score more points during each of those
Mhm.
interim scoring phases, and then they're going to score the last phase again as in-game scoring. That's it. Like, so basically, the last
Yeah.
phase scoring is just double those points, and then they're done, and then you score your board.
Yeah, very low maintenance, and then whatever action they're taking on their turn, you get to follow. So like the
Mm-hmm.
multiplayer game, they pick an action, they do what they do for it based on, their tile, and then that right-hand side of that tile, you get to do that action. And they're always trying
Right.
to take that the highest tile up that they can take as far as actions. So they do push you in the game. So if you play like Alexander Pfister games and you play with multiplayer and everyone kind of has a chill, relaxed vibe at the table and they're like, we'll just go one or two spaces. It's fine. And everybody kind of is just slowly going
Mm-hmm.
down the river. The AI does not do that. So similar if you've played like Great Western Trail solo,
Right.
they will push you to move faster down there and sort of keep up, but it does keep it to a reasonable play time as well. Like you're not going to be sitting there for 3 hours playing it. It's pretty quick and it's one of the best games I've played.
Yeah. Solo Great Western Trail actually made me like Great Western Trail. I borrowed it and played it in a group from the library, I think, and everybody was just basically moving like it was a roll and move. This space do the action, this space do the action, and it took forever, and like nobody was really having any fun, and so I was like, whatever. But then I gave it another try. I played it solo, and it was like that AI was forcing me to move and do like
Yeah,
skip actions and play the game.
you learn to strategically skip.
Right.
Yeah.
And now Great Western. I don't know if I like Boone Lake better or Great Western Trail better. They're both good games.
Yeah, I definitely prefer Boone Lake from his games, but I just Boone Lake is one of my favorites. Like I said, I love that game. I'll play it anytime, anywhere, solo, multiplayer. If you want to play Boone Lake, I'll play Boone Lake with you.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I mean I think that's it.
Yeah.
Huge thanks, Brian, for like coordinating most of this and making this happen so we could do it together. This was a lot of fun and put some pressure on to make sure I actually got it finished and got through all of my games this time.
Yeah, it was nice to have somebody else kind of encourage each other and poke at, because like I said with the Century Spice Rose, like, is this right? Like, this doesn't seem as fun as I imagined. And you said, no, try this one. Like, oh, absolutely. So it's always good to have
Yeah,
people to
there's
feed off
several
of.
options.
But I appreciate you being here. This should be video 200 if my YouTube math is right when I post this. So neat little milestone,
That's awesome.
fun little
Yeah, definitely fun
collaboration.
milestone.
Yep. If you want to spin your channel or your Instagram, I'll be sure to link it
Yeah,
below
I
as
can
well.
do. Perfect. Yeah, if you want to follow me, I am primarily active on Instagram and everything posts over to our Facebook page as well. So content goes up on Instagram and Facebook the most consistently, but I do post primarily unboxing videos on our YouTube channel as well. You can find my top 100 over on YouTube. It's from 2023, but if you want to go check it out, you can watch it there. And otherwise, hit me up on Instagram. That's where you'll find me.
Yep, go check her out for sure. If you like this video, give the thumbs up, do the things. Thanks, Alli, for coming, and good luck on your next. I know you're not doing the 10x5 this time, but you got quite the challenge ahead of you that you are doing.
Yeah, got a lot of games to play.
I saw you were well on your way. But
Yeah, I'm making progress.
all right, well, thanks for being here. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.